What's up, everybody? A swamp full of starving English settlers, one tobacco seed, and a system of slavery that scars a continent. That's how British North America begins. This is APUSH Unit 2, 1607 to 1754, and here's your map. Jamestown and the Chesapeake, the totally different New England and Middle colonies, the brutal Atlantic economy, and the awakenings that start to unify the colonies. Stick with me to the very end, and I'll show you the single fastest way to lock all of this in before exam day. Let's go. Start here. First English colony, Jamestown, Virginia, 1607, and it almost died. Settlers wanted gold, not farming, so they starved. What saved them? Tobacco. John Rolfe planted a sweet West Indian strain, and suddenly, Virginia had a cash crop the world craved. To pull in labor, they used the hedge-right system, 50 acres to anyone who paid a worker's passage. Then 1619 hits with two huge firsts: the House of Burgesses, the first representative assembly in the colonies, and the first enslaved Africans in Virginia. Hold that date. Now, the Chesapeake and southern colonies turn into a tobacco machine, and tobacco is hungry for cheap labor. First answer: indentured servants, poor Europeans who worked years for passage and a shot at land. But land ran short. Freed servants got furious, and in 1676, Bacon's rebellion saw frontier settlers burn Jamestown to the ground. Watch what the terrified planters do next. They pivot to enslaved Africans, a labor force they can control for life. That single choice locks in racial slavery and a steep plantation hierarchy. Slow down here, because the College Board loves Bacon's rebellion. Nathaniel Bacon led poor whites, and even some servants against the governor, partly over native policy and access to land. Here's the key. When poor whites and indentured servants rose up side by side, the elite panicked at the sight of a united lower class. Their fix was deliberate: shift hard to enslaved African labor that couldn't earn freedom, and pass laws hardening race lines. The result? A society legally split black from white, where slavery becomes permanent and hereditary. Lock that cause and effect in. Now swing north to New England, a completely different world. The Puritans came for religion, not riches. John Winthrop called Massachusetts Bay a city upon a hill, a holy model for the world to watch. They ran themselves through town meetings, early democracy in action. But strict faith breeds dissent. Roger Williams pushed religious freedom and founded Rhode Island, and Anne Hutchinson got banished for challenging the clergy. And the economy? Tight-knit family farms, fishing, and trade, not big plantations. Remember that contrast, it's coming back. Right in between sit the middle colonies, New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania, the best of both worlds. Fertile soil makes them the breadbasket, exporting wheat and grain. They're the most diverse and tolerant region, a mix of ethnicities and religions. William Penn founded Pennsylvania as a haven for Quakers who preached equality and pacifism. So picture the three: southern plantations, New England's tight religious towns, and the middle colonies, diverse, commercial, and open. Now let's line them up. This is the comparison the exam will absolutely test, so number it. 1. New England. Puritans, family farms, town meetings, religiously strict. 2. The Chesapeake and South. Tobacco and rice plantations, enslaved labor, and Anglican elite. 3. The middle colonies. Grain exports, diverse and tolerant, mixed faiths. Different climates, soils, and reasons for founding produce different economies and societies. Nail this three-region contrast, and you own the backbone of the whole unit. Now zoom out. All the colonies get knit into a brutal Atlantic economy run on mercantilism, the idea that colonies exist to enrich the mother country. Britain's navigation acts forced trade through England on English ships. Goods moved in the triangular trade: rum and manufactured goods to Africa, enslaved people across the deadly Middle Passage to the Americas, and raw materials like sugar and tobacco back to Europe. And slavery hardens into chattel slavery, enforced by harsh slave codes. Sit with what that crossing meant. Here's the human cost. The Middle Passage was the brutal Atlantic crossing where enslaved Africans were packed into ships in horrific conditions, and many died on the way. Colonies passed slave codes, laws that defined enslaved people as property, and made slavery permanent and inherited through the mother. But know this for the exam: enslaved Africans resisted, through work slowdowns, escape, revolt, and by preserving culture, language, and faith. This system became the economic foundation of the colonies. Now follow the politics. Here's a sneaky important idea. The exam rewards salutary neglect. For decades, Britain loosely enforced its own trade laws and mostly left the colonies alone. With Britain distracted, colonial assemblies like Virginia's House of Burgesses got used to governing themselves. Colonists got a real taste of self-rule and representative government. So when Britain tries to tighten the screws after 1763, colonists feel their established rights being ripped away. Remember this, because it sets up the entire revolution. Two big movements now sweep the colonies, so track them. First, the Great Awakening, an emotional religious revival. Preachers like Jonathan Edwards and George Whitefield drew huge crowds, and these new lights told people to feel faith personally and question established churches. Second, the Enlightenment, which stressed reason and natural rights, championed by thinkers like Benjamin Franklin. Together they plant seeds of revolution, challenge authority, think for yourself, and, crucially for the exam, they connected colonists across all 13 colonies. Last piece. As colonies expanded, they collided with native peoples defending their land. In 1675, Metacom, called King Philip, led a desperate alliance against New England settlers in King Philip's War, one of the deadliest conflicts per capita in American history. In 1680, the Pueblo Revolt in the Spanish Southwest temporarily drove the Spanish out, the most successful native uprising of the era. See the pattern the exam wants. Colonial growth meant constant pressure and resistance on the frontier. And that's APUSH Unit 2. Jamestown and Tobacco, Bacon's Rebellion pushing towards slavery, the three regions, the Atlantic economy and the Middle Passage, salutary neglect, the Great Awakening, the Enlightenment, and native resistance. You just covered the whole thing. But here's the truth. Watching is not the same as knowing. Head to AIM 5 and practice Unit 2 for free, with instant feedback on every question. Links below. Now go get that 5, and I'll see you in Unit 3.